So today I am joined by the very talented Temple Tears. And brother, I have to tell you, I spent the last hour marinating in your music and getting calibrated to your frequency. And let me just start by saying your sound is very special to me. If I had to describe it, it's this driving, powerful, groovy, dark but uplifting down tempo. When you hear me say that, does that feel right? Is that what you're going for?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for the invite. And yes, it's pretty much what I feel when I do it. I like to, I think I like to give a wedding to dark and uplifting.
Oh my God. That's my favorite. It offers a space for me to tap into some of the darkness in my subconscious in a playful, curious way. And that's really the shit that gets me going. It's like if you can make me feel it and I can bring it to the surface and then there's movement involved, it is extremely healing. And I think that anyone that connects with it is experiencing this healing process, whether they truly realize it or not. And I do realize it. So that's part of the reason I wanted to have you on here today was just to connect with you as a human being, but also get your perspective on why you make music and what gets you excited. So I think a good place to start this
Okay.
conversation, I did some research on you. There's not a lot of information out there, but in two different places, it was written that you were born in Paris, but you were reborn in the deserts of Burning Man in, I believe, 2014, you said. Is that right?
Yeah, it's right. It's 2014.
So what's up with that? What caused you to list that in your profile?
So, in 2014, I attended my first Burning Man with my brother and some friends. And we decided to go to the temple one by one because, the temple is like a sacred place where people are mourning people or ideas of themselves, whatever. And and I came by myself at the temple, and it was so intense when I got out. I cried like a baby, like really like I never cried like this since a very long time, like a kid. And this is the moment I was telling myself, if one day I have to do a music project um, that I love, and that is meaningful to me, I will call it Temperatures. So yeah, this is the reason of the name, but also I've, like you said before, I found it very healing to cry. Like for me, it's the same as having as dancing on a dark track. It's like you let go all of that uh, emotional stiffness,
Mm-hmm.
and you just let go, and it was really good to feel myself crying like this, like something had to leave my body.
Mm. Yes, I like to think of our bodies physically and emotionally, all of it,
Mm.
as a bit of a river. And if we don't allow a release every once in a while, the water starts getting still. And
Mm.
this is really how diseases come into our body. And I were you much of a crier before this moment, or was this like a big opening for you?
No, I'm easy with my emotion. I share them with people and my surroundings pretty easily. So if I watch a movie, I have no problem to cry. If I'm sad, I have no problem to cry. If I'm happy, I'm laughing. I was always like expressing myself a lot. So, but during those last years before Burning Man, I was like, I had another music career which I won't talk about, but um, it was pretty intense, and was kind of stuck in a loop, and everything was automatic. And the music producing is something I love more than anything, and it started to be my job and not my passion anymore. So I think this is why I cried so much, because I had to let go something.
And then Temple Tears was born from there.
Exactly. Temple Till was born, but like the name was born. Like my new heart for music producing was born. But like I started producing down tempo like 6 years after that.
Wow.
Yeah. I searched my new playground. I've experimented stuff, different genre, progressive house techno. I've played a lot with music without any boundaries. And I finally met down tempo through a group of friends.
And were you touring and playing gigs in between 2014 and 2020? Because I see that your first official productions, and we'll get to a deeper dive into your releases, but it was on LOKD, and that was in
Yeah.
2020. So were you DJing during that time?
So I was DJing with my former name, and I was also having a few gigs, but without any releases, under the name Temperatures. So it was more about using my business contacts and my connection and my network to get some shows. But it was, like I said, there was no particular sound. It was just like me who wants to discover how to play and have fun again and produce and have fun again. So yes, I had some gigs, but like not, it was not like what didn't mean anything.
Okay.
Yeah, it really started like when during the lockdown, when I started to produce every day. Like
Wow. So the
yeah,
lockdown is responsible for this medicine that I've been taking from you?
pretty much. I mean, like exactly. And what is funny is like I know a lot of people who didn't like the lockdown, but I had to have to say I'm sorry for that, but I loved it because I was like allowed some free time to explore and do what I want. And the funny story is like my first release has been released unlocked. How cool is that?
Dude, that's what I want to talk about. I'll say very briefly that with all sensitivity to the pandemic, of course, the lockdown was extremely beneficial to me as well, and not always in the prettiest of ways. It's almost like my escapes were taken away from me, and I had to really get in touch with myself and really understand, what do I like to do when I'm not running off to parties and going to cafes all day long. What does Lee, that's me by the way, what does Lee really like to do? And I think
Yeah,
a lot of people don't have an answer to that. So when you take away the outside world, they're stuck suffering and
yeah.
complaining about the situation. Now,
Mhm.
you mentioned that your first release was on Locked. I never know how to pronounce these labels and all this
Yeah,
European shit.
it's
I've been
locked.
calling them LOKD, so it's Locked. I believe they're out of Switzerland. Is that correct?
Yes, I think they're based in Zurich.
Yes. Well, even if they're not, it doesn't matter. But in preparation for our conversation, I was looking for some talking points, and I opened up Crates. Are you familiar with crates.co, by the way?
No, not at all. What is it?
It's a website that uses your login information from Beatport,
Okay.
and it's a little bit more customizable, a little bit more user friendly. I
Okay.
highly recommend it for anyone who spends time researching music on Beatport.
So it's crate dot
Crates.co. Co.
co. Okay.
Yeah, crates.co.
Crates dot plural.
Crates.co.
Right. Okay. I'll check this out later.
Authentic marketing there for a platform that's really been useful to me. And I open up crates and I search for Temple Tears, and I'm looking at your releases, and I'm like, okay, his first release is in 2020, and it's this song. It's a remix of Nagina, which I
Mm.
remember I did a video for during lockdown. It was in front of my house in New Jersey, and I'm looking at your discography and I'm like, hold on a minute. How is this possible? Because usually when I look at an artist, their first couple of releases are with a record label that I've never heard of, or maybe, with all due respect, a lower level label. But you jump right onto the scene with one of my favorite, quote unquote, down tempo record labels, and then your first actual EP was with them a month later. That's the Matilde EP, which is
Mm.
incredible. Not only is it incredible, you have a remix from Kermesse and a remix from Arutani. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, can you, and if it's a secret thing that you're
No, it's
doing,
not.
that's fine,
It's
but
okay.
how does this happen? Is it, obviously the music's great, so that's the first part. So thank you for that, by the way. But can you help me understand how you jumped into production and right off the bat you're on Locked, and then your next release is a remix on fucking Aku Mandra? Like, how does this
Hmm.
happen?
So there's different things I think here. Uh, there's a part of luck. There's a part of luck in everything, but another reason is that I'm producing music since 12 years, so I'm very familiar with sound design and mixing, which helped me a lot, I think, to stand out because for people, Temperatures was a new name. So maybe there was like a gap between the fact that it's a new name, but there is like 12 years of production behind that makes like, oh, wow, it's like how it's possible. So people don't know that I've produced since 12 years. I mean, like now they know. Also, I know a lot of friends who are producers and they are always shy to send music to the big guys and the big label. And so I asked my group of friends, what are the biggest label in Downtempo? Because like I didn't know that much at that time about the scene. So they gave me the names, and of course I did my research. And I think if you're not scared, if you just try get it, give it a shot. I mean, like those people have emails, they do get the emails and they listen to the music. So I think if you are confident and that your music is good and you send it to a label you like, they might sign it, and this is what happened. Also, probably another reason is it was during the lockdown, during the COVID crisis. So maybe all the other people were like slowing it down, like all the down tempo guys who release. Maybe they slowed it down on the production and they just took a break from it. And I see that I use that as an opportunity, like without even knowing it. So it's a different reason, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it sounds like some things fell into place. We can call that luck
Yeah.
if we want, but ultimately, you really put yourself out there. And I
Mm.
think that that's a really inspiring story for some artists who may be listening who sort of have this fear or resistance about sending their music to the bigger labels. It's like, hey, take your shot, like the
Yeah.
worst is they can say no.
I mean, like, there's something for sure. If you don't send it, they won't sign it. So, so it's tricky because I know some young artists. They are afraid of being like blacklisted if their music is not good enough. Like, and I get it. I mean, if I was, I used to have a record label, and if I receive like one, two, three emails from the same artist, and the three demos are like not my jam, I'm probably not gonna listen to the music anymore from that guy in the future. Maybe. But I mean, like, if you're confident, like, in what you do, just send it. If you like what you do, just send it. Well, like, the worst Worst case scenario, they don't answer you. That's
Right.
it. They don't burn you.
Yeah, it was interesting for me to learn about the producer record label process and how,
Hmm.
correct me if I'm wrong, but generally speaking, the producer is sending tracks to the labels that they think are a fit. And then the label sort of decides, yes, we want to make
Hmm.
an EP with you.
Yeah.
And in talking to some new producers, they explained to me this whole uh, sort of dilemma they face where, okay, I already sent one project to them and they didn't like it. So now if I send another one, it really has to be like
Yeah.
my good work so that I'm not on that blacklisted list. But ultimately, I mean, it's a part of the process.
Yeah.
You can't, record labels can't sign everything, and we can only listen to so many demos. There's only so much ear power.
There's so many reasons you can be denied with a release or demo. It's like it can be the track is not good enough, or the person doesn't like it, or it just doesn't fit. Maybe you just need to work a little bit more. Maybe you're just a beginner. Um, Maybe you just have to practice more and wait. I mean, every person is different, but like I think sometimes young producers, very young producers, they want to. I mean, young people in general, they want to jump the steps. They want to cut the line. Um, they basically like start producing, and then like 6 months after, they want to release their track and put it out on SoundCloud, which is, I mean, like, which is cool in a way, but uh, I think like when I started, I would have been too stressed to share it to the world straight away, and and for me, like the label was the kind of the judge that I needed to make sure, like, okay, so if a label is signing me, that means it's listenable, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get ridiculous. But nowadays it has changed, so it's a different generation from mine. But I think there's not a recipe of does it work, how can I
Right.
get.
Let's talk about the evolution of the music scene just a little bit. I came into electronic music about 4 years ago, maybe it was five, and then probably 3 years ago, I started really becoming a student of the releases and the labels, less of the music and the bass lines and this stuff, and more of holy shit, there's so much fucking music. How does
Yeah.
anybody stay on top of this? Help me understand because you've been in this world for a decade or more. Um, to me, it feels like today there is more music coming at us than ever before. Everybody can be a producer, everybody can upload on SoundCloud. Lots of artists have created their own record
Hmm.
labels, and it goes two ways for me. On one way, it's amazing. I mean, there's no barrier to sharing your creation anymore. And I think that's a beautiful thing. On the flip side, I've been doing some research about our attention span and our ability to focus. And what I'm finding is that we can't really focus on anything for more than an hour straight, basically. Like, they've done studies on this stuff. And the reason I bring that up is because there's only so much information we can take in.
Hmm.
And when Friday comes around and I update my playlist and there's 200 new tracks, and this isn't in the whole world, this is just from the artists and the labels that I'm following.
Hmm.
There's 200 tracks. The realistic situation is that I can't
Play everything.
really
Yeah.
sit and absorb all of that. Was it different 10 years ago? Was there less? And do you feel like less is more? Or what's your relationship with it?
Um, okay. It's a question I've studied a lot. There's actually a documentary, I think it's free online, called Press, Pause, Play,
Mm-hmm.
that exactly talks about how the fact that you can get the tool to make music easier is bringing more people, and they asked this question like, uh, is it good or is it bad? Because you have more talented people out, but it might be lost in the sea of producers. So this documentary is really interesting. Um, I do believe that it's great. I'm from generation in between the older guy who only analog and like a studio was fucking like expensive. Like every piece of a device was like super expensive. Like that to and nowadays you can just do music with just a laptop. And I'm from the generation in between.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that is funny because when I produced a lot in my all former career, I had a music studio with expensive speakers, expensive devices, and the expensive whatever you want. Like I had a load sheet of stuff going on, and and because of lockdown, I've sold my studio and I've started working on my laptop with just HD 25 Sennheiser headphones at home. And I was like, whoa, so I don't need all that shit. I think it was I don't know how to say in English when when you have uh, like a stuffed bear when you're a kid and you just want to be it's comforting to have those to have a lot of stuff, like a lot of gears, a lot of VSTs. That's the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
um, so it's really comforting that you think you need more to achieve more or better, which is wrong. It's not true, but it's comforting. And to answer your question, I think it's really cool that anybody can get his hand or her hands on um, a software to make music, because I mean, like, the purpose of music is just having fun and being creative. It doesn't matter if you're not a professional. It doesn't matter if you sign on a label. It doesn't matter if you get booked on festivals. I have a lot of friends in my group of people in my tribe who are DJing, not producing, but DJing uh, as amateurs, but they're really good. Even my little brother is starting to DJ now, and he's having a lot of fun. And I enjoy that his sets, and I enjoy the sets of my friends, and they don't care if they will be booked or whatever. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's same for the music people produce. Just do it for yourself. If you're true to your music and to your creation, if it's moving you and your emotion, it will move other people. I mean, you're not a
Mm.
freak. You're not a freak.
This is why I was confident in asking you to have this conversation. It's because of how I was connecting with your music. I was like, there's no way I'm not going to get along with this guy. I feel this shit. Let's talk a little bit about that. The purpose of music is having fun and creativity. I love
Yeah.
that. Uh, Something that really attracts me to the down tempo scene is that it feels very artsy. Some more of the major melodic techno labels, I think, reached a level of success. And then there's this element of business that I feel in their
Mm.
marketing and just the whole feel. And when I took the intentional dive into downtempo, I discovered this label, Lout and Louise, and I went to their website, and it's like a fucking trippy museum of art and just so much intention around telling a story around the projects, and it really touched me. And then I'm looking at Down Records and Locked and Seraphim
Repeat.
audio input. Yeah, and it's there's love there, and I really connect to the fun playfulness, not taking it so seriously. So when you're producing music, what does success look like to you? When I'm producing content, maybe I'm making a video where I'm sharing something very vulnerable. In the beginning, I was very impacted by the response. And after doing it for 2 or 3 years, it got to a point where it's like, I like this. And maybe it's not for everyone, but I'm happy with what I created, and now I'm sharing that. I get the sense that you're sort of in that realm as well, but I want to hear you talk a little bit about what your intention is when you produce a track and then ship it out to a record label, and what makes you feel happy at the end of the day.
Okay. Um, I don't know what intention I put in my tracks because I'm all I can't understand the process of being inspired. It's something that really I think it's you can like, write books and do movies about it. Like how come inspiration? It's crazy for me. What makes me happy is when I finish track, when I can finally say, okay, I can write final version or final master, and I export the track. That makes me so happy. Like I've achieved something because uh, I'm always trying to. When I started 12 years ago, I was starting um, projects and I was never finishing them because I was always changing some things, and also the technique was not on point. So when a technique is not on point, you change a lot of stuff. Your mixing is messy. But when you don't think about the technique and you just focus on the art direction, you just listen to your flow, and so when it's done, you can say, okay, now it's finally done. And also, I'm happy even if I don't sign a tribe because I know that I can still put it on SoundCloud for free, or do a premiere with like at a SoundCloud channel. And also another um, expression of success for me is when because of one of my creation alone in my room. Because of that, I end up in front of a crowd playing that track. It's like a cool paradox I love in electronic music. You can be very lonely during the creative process, but then at some point you just want to be with everybody on a dance floor to share what you did by yourself. And that's like people get a glimpse of who you are. And that's priceless to see people dancing on your music and or for example like whistling when they recognize the notes and you're like fuck really. And my friends from Crepit, when it all started for Temple Tears project, they told me, yeah, people are playing your tracks in Berlin, and I was like, what? Like really? And I was happy because it meant like what I did was not only for me, it also meant for other people. And that was cool. This is so cool. Like,
Hmm.
and but I don't want to be I'm not gonna be I don't want to be in codependence uh, with the love of others because I used to be like that. Like I
Yes.
used to need the approval of others. It would be a lie to say I don't care, but I've done a long way now, and it doesn't affect me as it used to. So I'm so happy when people like my music and can dance over it or send me great messages like, "Oh, it helps me to wake me up, start my day or my weekend." I'm happy. But like if someone, for example, is like something negative, uh, I will just like notice it and maybe I will be pissed for like 30 minutes and then I will just get over it.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I initially was dependent on the response. And then as I sort of looked inward at what was happening there, I started to build a stronger foundation in
Mm.
myself and just being proud of what I was creating. But then it was still being open to receiving the love, right? Like, who are we
Yeah.
kidding? Of course, it fucking feels good when people receive your vulnerable creation and they connected with it. But that's not going to be the source of what makes us feel whole or
No.
complete as an artist or a person. And I think that's a journey that any artist has their own experience with.
Yes. Yeah. It's it's good to be on the edge, like getting some love, giving some love, being alone, being together. Um, and also there was something really special. That's like when I back in the days when I started to tour more and more, I had like less and less time in the studio.
Hmm.
So also I think it's good to be able to say no sometimes when you don't feel to have too many gigs or do too many remixes. I used to say yes to every remix request I had. Now, because I was afraid to say no to people, and now I just say no either if I'm not feeling to do the remix or if I don't have the time. I don't have a problem saying no or to a show whatever because I want to do everything at 100% with no regrets, with no pressure. I hated the pressure of
Mm.
having deadlines, and I hate that word. I hate to have deadlines. I hate it.
It's so funny because I don't have deadlines and I have ideas and projects, and without having a deadline, I don't really get the shit done. So I'm
Yeah.
actually
To
like
that,
calling deadlines into my life.
but you're true. You're right. Like I don't like deadlines, but I have to say that when I have deadlines, uh, I get the shit done because I don't have a choice. So in a way, it's like a kick in the ass. But I feel like I said, it's like a balance. Like not too much pressure,
Yeah.
but not being too loose, too lousy, and just
Yeah.
chill.
It's a thin line. You want to have the space to be able to
Mm,
really give it your full attention,
yeah,
but you don't want to be super rushed in that
yeah,
process. I think there is a balancing act.
yeah. For
You
example, I do.
mentioned, go ahead.
Sorry. For example, I have a remix I've accepted to do for K2WO on Crepit.
Love this guy.
Yeah, and I told them because they're a friend, I'm okay to do it, but like I need to have until September or something like that. And ask if he's okay, and he is okay. So everybody's happy. The label is happy. The artist is happy. I am happy. This is good. But I still have a deadline on September, so I know that it's gonna come at some point. But I take my time.
Yeah, a 4 month deadline is pretty
It's
nice
okay. It's
for a
okay. Yeah,
remix.
it is.
You mentioned learning to say no was a very valuable process for you. You
Hmm.
shared with me your upcoming tour, and there's some really cool venues on there, a lot of festivals, actually. And what I notice is that, from my perspective, it's nice and spread out. Sometimes I see these artists posting their tours, and it's like Tuesday in Ibiza, Wednesday in Tulum, Thursday back in Ibiza. I'm like, how much money are you getting paid to travel like this? And
Mm,
I respect that everybody has their own life experience. They get to do what they have the bandwidth for. But I always felt that if I was an artist, I would kind of do less shows, but
yeah.
really the shows that I feel aligned with. And when I look at your list, it looks like you are picking shit that you're excited to show up for. What's your approach to touring?
Um, I have to be honest. When I was younger, like 10 years ago, I toured a lot, and it was exhausting. Um, I did that kind of shit like doing 30 shows in 60 days during the summer in 2013. I remember that. And so when you're young, you just, like I said, you just say yes to everything. You have an agent. They say, "Oh, I'll get you a booking for that amount of money," and you say, "Yes, yes." It's good. It's because it's like for you, it's like success. It's like fame. It's money. It's like you're gonna be able to play in front of people. You are happy. You're finally a DJ. Mom and dad, I did it. I'm a DJ, and I earn my life like this. And then you realize like you're tired. You're just completely tired. Um, So it would be like to say I'm picky because um, at this time this is what I've been offered and I'm happy with it. For sure, if it was too much, I would be able to say no, I'm gonna pass if I don't feel it. But I think also what's on the tour, you said it's a lot of festivals, and those festivals are kind of related to the Burning Man spirit or to being mindfulness. I think because when you play down tempo, it's a vibe. You know, it's a vibe where it's been kind of discovered in those spiritual places like in Mexico, Tulum, and Berlin in small club, like more underground scene at Kaderblau, um, stuff like that. So I think it was brought by more experiment people, like the vet of partying, you know, and they can't rush on 140 bpm music all night long, so they have to slow down, and and I find this very convenient. So you can just take your time, but can still be nasty.
Yeah,
It's just slower doesn't mean it's boring.
right. It gives an opportunity to sink into the music a little bit more, a little
Yeah.
slower pace, but by no means is your music lacking the ability to send it, as I say. And
Mm,
what sending it really means is losing your mind, leaving it behind, and allowing your body to channel and respond to the music in whatever it presents in that moment. You mentioned that the festivals that you're playing at, a lot of them fit into this Burning Man category, and you use the word mindful. And
mm,
this really excites me because the first party I ever went to was an afterlife party in
okay.
Tulum. And it doesn't make sense to me now, but Acid Pauly was headlining.
What?
Yeah, right?
I love this guy.
Yeah, I know. And I didn't know anything at that time. So I was
Okay.
just there. But what really blew my mind, I mean, I was an open-minded person on a little bit of a spiritual path at that point, but all of my partying before that was like hip hop clubs and very ego-centric type of
Mm,
vibe. And when I went to this fucking party in Tulum, it was hugs with everybody and then
yeah.
2 hour conversation about my mom dying and my abandonment issues. And it was so incredibly connecting
Mm,
and open that, sort of like you said, reborn in 2014, a part of me was definitely reborn at that first party that I went to. And I'm grateful that it was a bit of a mindful crowd rather than like a cocaine filled club.
mm.
Like I call it like cocaine and alcohol vibes. You know,
Yeah,
all,
I
all due
completely.
all due respect for everyone, but that is not my vibe.
Mm,
And now that I've been partying for 4 or 5 years, I'm 35 years old, I'm growing a little bit. I find that I'm only really going to parties if it has that Burning Man essence of people showing up with an intention to be open and to connect. And generally speaking, I find a bit of a conscious crowd that's drawn to these parties. And that's what I'm there for. I mean, sure, I'm there for the music, but ultimately, an ideal experience is where I can connect with other humans on the dance floor who are really tuned in and paying attention. When you go on tour, what kind of audience do you like to play for? And actually, before we get to that, I want to ask you, do you party? What's your relationship with going to gigs? Do you go to clubs? Do you go to festivals? Do you dance? Do you sit in the back and just kind of listen? What do you do?
so I used to dance more than that because I had the energy to dance all night long. I still dance. Um, I'm just going back from a special party weekend which was the 40th birthday of a friend of mine and her best friend. They did organize a mini festival for 180 people in nature, with like DJs such as Khaleesi and Sarah Price playing, and I
Come
did play
on.
there, and Fari and a lot of friends, Orcats and stuff, and it was like amazing. Like it was totally, we are all burners from for a long time, so it was really a safe place. Safe. When I go to party, I don't go in a club anymore unless I'm playing there, because first of all, in clubs, I feel people are young and sometimes not experimented enough. I mean, like I'm talking about Paris because I live in Paris,
Hmm.
but Berlin is completely different. Um, and in Paris, in my hometown, I don't go to club anymore. But unless it's with only good friends that are organizing the party, I do love what I do is like being play as I play in festivals. I also party in festivals. It's I do this a lot. Sometimes I just get a show and I can stay one more day after that in the festival and enjoy the party and the people. I can't. I mean, like it's not that I can't, but like I don't really like to arrive like 30 minutes before a show, play my gig, and get out. You know, like that's not my vibe. I just get here like at least an hour before, so I can just like sink into the vibe,
Yeah, feel it.
and then after I'm probably staying a little bit because I'm having a lot of fun, or maybe sometimes I just stay until the end just to after party with people I don't know. I don't care, but I'm not the guy that stays in the back for sure.
I love you. And just to give you feedback from an audience member, a fan of going to these parties, it means so much to me when I see the artist hanging around and just
Mm,
enjoying the party, enjoying the experience that we've come here to create together. And again, I respect that everybody has different shit to do, and some people got to leave and catch a flight
yeah,
to
yeah, sure, exactly.
Barcelona, right? And that's cool. But when I see a performing artist hanging out on the festival grounds, it opens this channel for me to feel more connected. And then guess what? When you play, I'm more tuned in because I feel like
Yeah,
this is a cool guy or a cool girl, you know?
I mean it's I think everybody loves simple artists like who don't think they are like goddess or gods, and this is what I've found in the downtempo scene is like a lot of artists are super nice, and this is another reason why I think I signed on those label. To go back to the first question you asked, I think it's also because I was scared of that underground scene. I was more in the more mainstream scene before, and people are like sharks. Like they just, it's just a business. How they can use you, how they can get to the top through you. And the downtempo scene, people are chill. People are cool. They're nice. Of course, the big artists can't just fucking stay there all night long because they have shit to do,
Right.
and also I think after like 15, 20 years of partying, you can't party. I mean, especially people living in Berlin, for example. How do you expect like a Berlin DJ to just party like for 3 days in a row when you're like around your 40 years old? I mean, like
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm 38, and I can tell you I can't do like dance marathon anymore. I would love to, but like I can't. I just have to come back home and get some rest. When I see those kids raving for hours and hours, that's it. But I do like people who still are smiling, talking to the crowd, even if it's just for what 5 minutes. And I think it's normal. What I don't like is when the teacher is like eyes on the deck, not a single look at the crowd for 3 hours. That's something that's weird. I just no. I mean, like for me, I'm talking for me because I think a DJ is not only playing music. It's you have to feel the vibe of the crowd to know exactly what you want to do, or not exactly. Maybe sometimes you're wrong and you try stuff, but at least if you try something, you try with 100% of your heart, and it's okay. But if you're never reading the crowd, I mean, like for me, it's important to read the crowd. It's part of the of
Hmm.
being a DJ more than playing the right track at the right time. Because sometimes I like to change my vibe, and there's a
Yep.
lot of DJs like that. That just read the crowd, and
Well,
I
there's
love
level
people. Yeah, I love them when they play when you play with the crowd when you there's an interaction.
there's levels because I think even there's probably a lot of high level DJs who keep their eyes down. Maybe they feel more comfortable that way. And I think they're still reading the crowd in some way.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
But but the next level is feeding the crowd.
Yeah.
And when I was doing my little research on temple tiers, I was on your Facebook page and there's a there's a video of you playing like in a desert somewhere. I'm not sure what party
Oh,
this
I
was.
think it was Midburn a long time ago.
Oh God, I'm very interested in
It was
Midburn.
Midburn. It's the regional Burning Man event of Israel in the Negev desert.
I definitely want to attend that, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because you were going nuts. You were preparing your shit as the build was going, and when it dropped, you oh my God, I got excited just watching this video, and I can tell you from being a guy in the crowd, that fucking pumps me up and gets me so much more into the vibe
Yeah.
that we're creating together.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's good that there's different sort of teachers. Like I'm expressing myself a lot. I'm dancing, I'm moving, I'm shouting, I'm just like this. And I understand also people who are like more intimate into their bubble, and some people like it too when the music is the only interaction they have with that. So I think it's good that there is different different vibe for different people, and this is why like I don't expect everybody to love temperatures, and this is normal, and everybody doesn't like the big guys and stuff. But I love DJs who are dancing, like when you see Mira playing, for example, and she's like
yeah.
dancing like this. You can see she's having a blast there, for example, and I like it.
I love it too. I wanted to tell a brief story and then sort of lead that into a question for you. I'm currently living in San Miguel de Allende in central Mexico. Lovely city. There's not a strong music scene here. And really, to get like proper music scene, I feel like I have to take a 4 hour trip to Mexico City, which I'm not always prepared to do.
Mm.
There was a party happening in the city next door. I'm not going to say any names here, but there was some professional DJs that I know that were there and they had a Function 1 setup. So I told my friends, let's go. I mean, I just want to feel a fucking Function 1. Let's go to this party. And we got there. The majority of the crowd was like, and I say this from a place of love, but the majority of the crowd was sort of posh, really well dressed, and standing around with fancy drinks. And everybody gets to experience the music or the party however they want. I've learned to respect that after years of complaining about the crowd. Everybody gets to have the experience they want. But there was a moment I was sitting in the crowd and I felt like there was not this collective focus on the music. It was very scattered. And I had a moment where I just said to myself in my mind, I said, man, I want to be part of a crowd that the DJ is like nervous to play for, like
Mm.
healthily nervous. Like And I have this fantasy of Berlin. I've been there a few times, but I think it's safe to say it's the mecca of our music scene. And I feel like when an artist, for example, on July 17th, let me just double check that. On July 17th, on your tour, you are playing at Katerblau in Berlin. Every show is going to be different, every party that you show up for. But when I look at a man that was playing 30 shows in 60 nights, I imagine there's some nights where like you want to bring your best, but you just kind of have low energy and maybe you can't fully show up. Uh, are there certain shows or parties that you circle on your calendar sort of and you're like, "Ooh, I'm really excited to play for I got to make sure I have my shit together for these guys." Does that happen for you?
Um, to be honest, with this music project, Temple Tears, I circle every gig
Yeah.
because, like I said, I was getting bored by my former project, and I finally found a new way to express myself through music, and it's down tempo. So now, for me, every gig I decide to go, or I'm invited to, every show counts. Like, of course, in those ones, there are some standing out, like such as playing for the first time at Katerblau because I've been partying at Katerblau as a dancer, as a party goer. So it's like in your head, even if it's like it's a step that you can cross, like check a box, like okay, so Katerblau. um, it's in between being proud of yourself, and it's also a good way to know where you're at the moment. I mean, like for example, like you have, yeah, you have elements that give you a hint about how your career, I don't like that word, is going. And for example, it's event like Karblau Monastery Festival, and others. And it's also when people are looking for bookers or agents. If you're looking for a booker and you ask how can I get a booking agent, it means it's not the right time to get a booking agent,
Hmm.
because agent will find you at some point, and the cool show will come with them, but with your work as well. And if you have a booking agent, for example, it means that it's another step, of the life of your project. I don't know, it's better than career. Um, so yes, for me, all the show I'm attending and I'm playing this summer, since the beginning of the project, I'm so happy. Um, of course, when I'm being told that I'm gonna play 3 hours on a Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at Catablau in Acid Bogan room, I'm
Oh.
excited, dude.
Oh.
And also I learned that one of my friend is my best friend. She is playing like for the first time as well in Catablau, like 1 hour after me,
Wow.
and another guy I know is playing for the first time the day before me at Catablau. It's like, and we
Who are
all
these artists?
the girl is Mathilde Dutz,
Hmm.
from Crépit. Um, it's actually the girl that inspired the title Mathilde, and one of my best friend, and Fari, a French DJ, which is playing live in Ains Opera, which is a room of Catablau the day before me. And so all our friends, because we have the same friends, they're like, okay, so Greg is playing. That's me, by the way. Greg is playing. Mathilde is playing. Max is playing. Okay, we should fucking book a flight to Berlin. And so now there's a group of people starting to think about, okay, we should go and witness the first DJ set of our friend in Catablau. And it's like Catablau was like the mecca of down tempo, like because Mira is really involved into it. Also, I think it's a cool club. People are who go there like that. That just it's not Bergen people. You know, they're not dressed in black. They're like
It's
smiling.
colorful.
Yeah, it's colorful. That. colorful on not only the outfit but like the vibe, the energy, the way they move and stuff.
All of it. To anyone in Berlin or anywhere out there listening, July 17th, circle it on the calendar. Get your ass to Katerblau. I
Cool.
wish I could be there. Um, I like to. I took a class in university on theater, and I wasn't really interested in theater, to be honest. It just was a requirement that I had to take this class. And the one thing I really remember from that class was that the professor was teaching us on how the audience is an important part of the show.
Oh
And
yeah.
an easy example is if you go to a theater and the audience on Wednesday night, everybody is on their phones and they're talking. And then on Thursday night, the audience is totally tuned in to the performance and they're giving that energetic feedback to the performers. Can you seem like a guy that's tuned in to the energy of these experiences? I want to hear from your perspective how valuable that feedback is from the crowd. Sometimes I'm at a show and people are very distracted in the audience, and I have this feeling that there's a flow of energy sometimes that's being blocked. I was at a party recently and there was these four people standing right in the front and they were standing, like not even really feeling the music. And behind them was a bunch of animals like ready to let loose, but I was witnessing this energy blockage and it's something I'm working on, but it really fucking frustrated me. And I tried to energetically like push them out of the way with love and like
Hmm.
clear the space. But my interpretation is that that's like a sort of like a wet towel right on the performer's face when
Mm.
there's hot fire that could be there. And I think from my experience of partying, I find a lot of value when the front of the audience is like the core of the fire
Yeah,
and they're
of
sort of
course.
setting. And then it's like, hey, if you're getting a little tired, you have the awareness to step back a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
You smoke your cigarette here. So I don't think I'm crazy, but I want to hear it from a DJ's perspective. Like, how valuable is it to have an engaged audience in your sight or that you can feel?
Um, Very interesting question. I think what because a DJ is stuck in a DJ booth, uh, what you're sightseeing, what's in your sight is really important. I mean, for me, it's really important. Um, it never really happened that I have people in the front row doing nothing because usually people who don't want to do anything, they just go away, smoke a cigarette. But it's very important that I interact with the people just in front of me. Uh, because I mean, like, it's a dedication. They decide. It's a choice to be in the front rows. So they are really willing to be listening and interact with you. I mean, like, you're not on the front row for nothing. And I like those people. Usually, they are like they are like a channel for me. Like, I see them as they are channeling my energy to the crowd. Um,
Yes.
if they are dancing really hard, people behind who may be shy or a little bit more shy would maybe get more comfortable with like letting go. So yeah, those people are just right in front or behind because I loved something I really love is when I have people behind me dancing, like friends or even not friends, but like when I'm surrounded by people. Wow, that's a very cool experience to have.
Yeah, hearing you talk about the people who are in the front row and they're not there for no reason, it makes me reflect on the difference between the music scene in Europe and in North America. Particularly, I can speak for the United States and Mexico. And I feel like it's a little bit the culture is a little bit young here, and as a result, sometimes you have people showing up to the party just to be at the party, and that's okay too. But I
Hmm.
find from time to time there's just these people that are drawn to being in the front because it's like the cool place to be,
Hmm.
but they're not really channeling the
Ah,
energy like you
yeah, I see
said.
what you
And
mean. But I mean, it's okay that people don't come at parties for DJs. Sometimes you just don't give a shit. You don't know. Like probably like the party I go, maybe there's 20% of people who know who I am. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe 30, 10, 50. I don't know. But I'm not playing only for those who know me. I'm also playing for those who don't know me. And like you said, you didn't know anything about music. You showed up at a party without knowing who the fuck is Acid Poli, and it blew your mind. So this is also for me. I see that as an opportunity to touch someone, and even if it's only one person that didn't know me, and the day after the gig I get a message on in my DMs of Instagram, like saying, wow, you really made my night. I'm fucking happy. That's it. Like wow, I was like a little piece of the puzzle of that person life for a glimpse. uh and I'm happy that I was part of it. That's it. This is what I do is.
yeah, I feel that that's the value of the curators, whether that's the venues and their booking or the record labels. It's if there's a club that I connect with and an artist that I don't know is playing at this club I like, that's kind of the golden situation for me. Like, okay, if Cotter Blau's booking this guy, they
Mm,
must find some interest. I've never heard of him. Show me something new. That
yeah,
really excites me.
there's so many different ways to discover new artists. It might be through friends, on going to a party, listening SoundCloud DJ sets, wandering on SoundCloud. There is so many things, so many ways to discover new music and new artists.
Do you dedicate time to searching for tracks for
Yeah,
your
sure.
sets? What's that process look like for you?
When I have a show, because obviously I play my music, but I don't want to play only my music, because first of all I love the music of other people, and I don't want to. I mean, I want to surprise people with new material. Um, Usually when I have a show or a podcast to do, like 10 days before I start digging, and just take like time on exploring internet, or asking friends, or listening to DJ sets, and maybe you will discover a new artist, and then a new label, and you will click, and then you
Love
end
it.
up
I
on
love it.
something. Yeah, it's like wandering. You just don't know where you're gonna go.
And for you, does that look like SoundCloud? Are you following artists on Beatport? What's the
Both.
actual
Yeah, both.
process?
There's not one I prefer. It's both. Like listening on SoundCloud, obviously, but also Beatport, because Beatport sometimes just there's like one label that has a cool track, and you want to listen to all the others, and it's convenient to just click on it. And you can do it on SoundCloud as well, but like SoundCloud, they have also Premiere. They have like a guest podcast where Beatport or Bandcamp. You can just see everything at one click.
Crates.co, brother. I'm excited
Yeah, and now
to
I
hear
wanna
your
I want to
feedback.
want to try it. I will try it for sure.
So this has been a lovely conversation. I feel like I'm building a friendship with you. Thank
Yeah,
you
same.
for being here. I want
Thank you.
to, as we close the ceremony here in the next 5, 10, 15 minutes, I want to talk a little bit about you as a human, and maybe a place to start that conversation is talking a little bit about your creative process. Do you dedicate time to work on music? Do you go with the flow? Do you find that you're energized in the mornings? Do you like to stay up late at night and create? What does your process look like?
Oh, dude. I'm so impressed by people and jealous of people who have like a process that they can stick to. I have ADHD, so I'm easily distracted by a lot of things. So one sure thing is like I only produce music at night. There's no email, there's no phone calls, there's no message, there's nothing, there's no car, like less cars in the street. I'm by myself, and I know I'm gonna get less distraction. Um, I don't have like a day I prefer. Maybe it's better on the weekend because I also own a restaurant, and of course, if I work on in my restaurant, I can't. I mean, I can't be like fully dedicated to music the day before, for example. So,
Hmm.
but now, yeah, now that I'm touring more, I work less at the restaurant, like to a point where I won't work anymore there. Um, I think it's, and also when it was lockdown, I was forced to stay at home, so I it was cool for me. Now that I can still live my life, and I think it's really important that I do see my friends and I go on vacation, go to movies, museum, because music is when you do music you have to be inspired. And I knew a guy who was like um, not doing anything apart from producing music, and he was struggling and he didn't understand why he was struggling. And I told him like, dude, you have to live something if you want to tell the story about your life. If you don't leave anything out of your software, it's like you eat your own shit, like you know what I mean, like you are like in a
Hmm.
closed circuit,
Yeah, closed loop.
closed loop, yeah. And it's like, and there's nothing new coming from the universe to you creative process. So sometimes it's just, but sometimes I know that I have an idea, for example, for a remix or like um, the story behind the track La Folie. I did produce intro for festivals and gigs with the Gangsters Paradise choirs.
Yes.
So, and I started to produce the music around the intro, and it turned out it became a track. So I get rid of the Gangsters Paradise Coolio, and I did a track. So sometimes you just never know how the track and the creative process will come from. It's just you have to go with the flow. Sometimes I just do a track in 2 nights and it's done and it's amazing. Sometimes I just struggle for 1 month and I'm just thinking, okay, I will work on this later, and I never work on it again.
Yeah.
But it's like life. I mean, like you can't do everything. I mean, it would be boring if I was able to do like bomb tracks, like killer banger every couple of days. You would be bored
Yeah.
to see my name on SoundCloud every week. Like, oh, another temperature track. Okay, I mean, like it's cool because like now I feel like if I release something, it's because it's really good for me, and I took the time to achieve something, and I don't want like, for sure, quality over quantity, for sure.
Yes. And your discography is really a great example of that. I mean, I'm looking through the list and genuinely every track I've have some kind of relationship with. That's extremely rare. How much do you value sleep?
Oh, I know that sleep is like really important, uh, but when I produce music, I can start at like 7 p.m. and just end at 7 a.m.
Right.
So I know sleep is really important. I value it a lot, but when I'm partying with my friend, producing, I hate to watch the clock. Like,
Yeah.
because watching the clock or the sun rising, see, witnessing the sun rising, it kind of get me out of my creative bubble. So I don't want to see the time going. I just want to be focused. So when I'm at night and I don't look at the time, I I know it's good. Like whatever the outcome, I'm having a great time with myself.
Yeah, it's sort of like a timeless flow
Mhm.
zone that
Exactly.
I think once you feel that, I know for me, I kind of got addicted and was chasing it. You don't just show up and it happens. It's sort of a magical alignment of things. And when that flow zone presents itself, really nothing else matters, and you just
Mm,
ride the wave on it. Um, I do find I'm 35, turning 36 in a couple months. So you and I are, stepping closer to
same.
40. And yeah, energy changes as you get older. And something I've been paying more attention to as of late is the value of sleep. And it's really like a skill to sleep well and to know, like, not to be looking at a screen for an hour or so
Mm,
before you go to sleep, and exposing yourself to sunlight at certain times in the day. There's a lot of science behind it. But much like you, I'm sort of, that's why I laughed at your response. It's like I understand the importance, but I haven't exactly intentionally created space for 7 to 8 hours every night. And you mentioned you dive into your productions at nighttime. So clearly there's going to be nights where you don't get much sleep,
yeah.
and then you got to show up for whatever the next day.
Yeah.
Are you a coffee drinker?
Um, I'm not a big coffee drinker. I like a coffee in the morning, but on the afternoon. But like usually, if I do music at night, this is because I have no agenda the day after. I'm
Okay.
completely free. I'm not the guy like because it would put pressure on me. Like, dude, what? You have to be awake or whatever. No, nah. If I do music, it's because the day after I'm completely free.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm inspired by your genuine love for the music, and I don't feel like you give much of a shit about projecting a certain image on social media. But a theme that's come up with a lot of artists I've been chatting with is they now feel an obligation to invest more into their social media presence. And they feel that getting bookings and gigs, now that's a variable that's being considered, is what is your following like on social media? I'm curious, what's your relationship with social media?
I hate it. uh, I used to when I started 10 years ago. We only had MySpace, like 12 years ago. Then we had Facebook pages. Then we had Twitter. Then we had Instagram. Then we had Instagram stories, etc., etc. And I'm not the kind of guy who wants to talk about my day-to-day life. I think it's boring to know that even when you tour, it's boring to know that I'm going to a hotel room or whatever, and then I go take like my car and my flight. I understand that people were not into this music industry. They see all the bright side of being an artist and touring, but they don't see the the dark side, like the I'm tired, don't have much sleep, I have to get my taxi, my flight, stuff, blah blah blah. And I think it's kind of lying to them if you only show the bright side. But if you do
Mm.
show every part of it, uh, it can be interesting. I think I don't know yet how I'm gonna use social media for that particular project, Temple Tears. But if I do take the time to share with people, it's gonna be because I want sharing and the topic that I'm really into. Um, and not only like what I'm doing at the moment, which is like, hey, this is a new track. It's gonna be released that day. I'm going to that club, that festival, and I did a track with that guy, and I think it's cool. But the only message here is like, hey, look how cool I am. I have gigs, and I'm a DJ, and you can catch me there. I understand this is a new way of communicating, but like, uh, I don't know if I would. I mean, like for me, it doesn't has any effect. I'm not gonna go an artist to check an artist because I saw he has like million of followers or because he just showed himself brushing his teeth after a DJ set. Like I don't know. And like like my life is not that important. I'd rather people focus on the music. But if they
Yeah.
want to interact with me, then I will have to find a cool way to do it.
And I'd like an honest answer here. And you've mentioned previously that you received messages from fans before. How does that feel for you when people reach out with an authentic expression of their gratitude for your craft?
I'm super happy. I always thank people, either if it's and take time to talk to like at least say thank you. I prefer talking to people and in real life. For example, I have when I did my first two gigs in Berlin on the same weekend in Beate with Kripit and in Rummelsburg for Wusa. I met a girl who lives in Berlin who was like dancing at the two shows, and I noticed her, and I went to talk to her. I felt thank her. It turned out we stayed connected, and she came to my other gig at Menschmeyer for Mid-Year Festival later on, and so for this party, I invited her um, to be my guest in backstage with
Mm,
me because I was like, okay, so here is someone coming by herself in a club to see me dance, see me playing, and she was dancing her ass off with this super cool attitude, like who was perfectly fitting and matching my level of energy. And I was like, I want to know that person. I want to,
yeah.
and I'm talking about really know her, like who the fuck are those people? For example, the last show I did in Berlin at Menschmeyer, I met a couple of young French guys, a girl and a boy, and they were talk first time in Berlin, and they were talking about Bergen, and I was like, whoa, 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 like you're gonna get smashed if you start like this. So I talked to them in the flight. Then I invited them to discover Berlin. We had like a proper kebab together, and I
Mm,
put them on my VIP on my list as well, and invited them backstage because I wanted to give them like a super intense first time in Berlin, and I liked them. They were super nice guys and nice people, and I like to share moments, special moments with people. I like to meet people. When I'm playing in a club, I can't meet everyone, but sometimes I just see a smile or like you said, like someone just thanking me after the set. Okay, and it's always like it's always fulfilling, and it's I mean, how can you not like when people say thank you for what you just did?
yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I feel the love and I'm inspired by you. As much as you may not like social media, it's an opportunity for humans to connect and to find your music, and that's how we ended up here, right? So, in conclusion, if you want to check out Temple Tear's Instagram, we'll leave his little link in the comments below. He has a listing of his upcoming tour dates, really cool looking parties. And if nothing else, I really just invite you to take a little look at his discography. This guy's got a really unique, groovy, I'll do it again, dark, uplifting. It gets me, brother. I get you, and I appreciate you. In closing, is there anything you want to share with anyone who may be listening?
um Thank you for listening first, and I hope I will see you very soon on any dance floor on Earth. Um, and thank you again for inviting me, Lee. It was really nice, and I
Thank
loved
you.
your and I have to say I loved your energy during the lockdown it's when I discovered you because like you are really liking this music when there's those moves. I can tell you really love what you do and you love the music and sharing with other people. And for me, it's all what music is about. So thank you.
And everybody plays their part. So I appreciate you, brother, and thank you for what you do. I I really hope to share a dance floor with you soon.
Oh, we will. I'm sure.
We will. All right, brother. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao.